Have you ever made a mistake or done something wrong or just wish that you could go back and have a redo? I know I definitely have, so I can't imagine I'm the only one. Today, I want us to talk about forgiveness and unforgiveness and how that can hold you back in your life and relationships because I want you to live as full and happy a life as possible. So let's dive in. Are you too busy to prep healthy meals? Do you feel self-conscious about your body and your clothes not fitting right, but you don't have time to work out? Does your life feel unorganized and messy? Do you wish you had routines and habits that made health simple, even with your busy schedule? I know, I've been there. Hi, I'm Shannon Marquita, and no one ever really taught me how to eat healthy. I didn't know anything about nutrition, so I found myself eating whatever was easy, which definitely impacted my energy, weight, and focus. That's why I created this podcast, to show you that through healthy habits and time management, you can know you're doing health right. So stop scrolling social, clicking the ads, and buying all the things. Let's grab our Americano and pop in our AirPods. It's time to solve the real problem together. Welcome home. A fresh start awaits. Today, we're going to talk about forgiveness and unforgiveness. And I want to first say that I know that forgiveness is not always something easy to give or to do. So please don't hear what I'm going to say today and think she has no idea, she's never been through this or that. And you may very well be right. Our lives are not the same. Our journeys have not been the same, but everybody at some point has been faced with the choice of forgiveness or unforgiveness. And that's what I'm talking about today, because the choice is yours and the effect is also yours. So I want to start this episode by reading what unforgiveness is according to the dictionary online. And it says, unforgiveness is the inability or unwillingness to forgive someone who has caused you pain or broken your trust. It can lead to bitterness and resentment, and it can negatively impact your mental health and other relationships. So every piece of that does not sound inviting or like something I personally want to choose or embrace myself. Now, forgiveness, on the other hand, is the act of intentionally letting go of negative feelings towards someone who has wronged you. It's a process that can help you move on with your life and feel more compassion and empathy. So both of these definitions emphasize that the choice is yours. And so I want to start there by saying whatever the situation is, the choice is yours and the effect and outcome is also yours. So a lot of people say, I can't forgive them. You have no idea what they did or how it hurt me or affected me. And you're right. I don't know. But you can forgive them. And I would argue that you need to, because if you don't, it's only hurting you. Forgiveness isn't something you ever actually have to tell somebody. You don't need to walk up to somebody and say, hey, I forgive you. In some cases, people might look at you and be like, for what? Why? They might not even care or feel that they did something wrong. Forgiveness is something that you need to do for yourself so that you can leave that hurt and that experience behind you so that you don't keep carrying it forward in all of your life and experiences and exchanges, and you don't let it affect the lens that you look through for other relationships and other encounters with people, because not everybody is the same. You were hurt at some point and you were wronged. That's truth. All of us have been. But whoever did that and whatever that situation is, everybody is not that person. Every situation is not going to go that way. I think about different examples in my life with people that I know, and they are loving people, and I love them, and I'm grateful they're in my life. But I think about how they talk about different examples in relationships with friends, with family, with their kids even, about their believers, how it's important to forgive like God forgives us, and to model forgiveness and love. But it's always easy, because we all have done this, to have that one instance where we withhold, that one instance where we just think, but it's different here. But is it? Because I would argue it is not. There are terrible situations that happen. I know ones with people close in my life, and I pray for them regularly for having to gone through such things, and my heart just hurts when I think about it. But you still have to forgive the situation, because otherwise you walk through carrying bitterness and anger that you don't even realize, and distrust even towards others that comes from these situations and holds you back and prevents certain closeness with other people, because you're kind of always blaming or worried that they might do the same thing. And that's not true. They're not them. It was an unfortunate situation. Whatever it was heartbreaking, and I'm not belittling that. And I think there's a huge place for counseling and healthy therapy to talk through it, work through it, all the things. But forgiveness allows you to release it so that your mind doesn't constantly think about it and hold on to it. And it's not on replay in the stories that you tell. In certain examples that I'm thinking of, people might say things like, oh, I reached out, but I know they're never going to get back to me. I know that if I don't make an effort, nothing's going to happen. And they always do this. And I just think, first of all, which if you've been around this podcast for a little bit, you know that the word always and never, I am certainly not a fan of. I try to never say always and always avoid the word never. There are very few instances where I would argue that you could use these two words, but they are dangerous in my opinion, especially when used in a negative way. So I would encourage you to try to avoid that. And try to remember that these people that maybe you feel are letting you down in these examples could be a spouse, could be a parent, could be a child. You do love them and you do want to see change. So you choosing words that are negative are not helping to guide them maybe and or encourage them in the relationship, because they themselves might be thinking, they're never going to forgive me. They always think I'm going to mess up. They always assume the worst. They never want to spend time with me. And so it can actually start to go both ways and hurt the relationship as a whole. So I would encourage you to more try to guide the relationship and set the example by modeling of what you want to see. You can't control people's choices. That is a lesson that I really should do a whole podcast episode on in itself. We think that we can control them, and if I could just get them to do this or that, everything would be fine. But people have to make choices for themselves. You think of simple examples like someone who wants to lose weight or get healthy, stronger even, and you think, oh, if you just did this, but they have to want it. You might want to see them be healthier, make healthier choices because it's affecting their health and they're on a lot of medicines, or their doctor said you need to make better choices or else X could happen. And you're thinking, why don't you just do it? But to them, for whatever reason, they haven't wanted to make the choice. And the choice is theirs, just like the consequences and outcome is theirs as well. So you think about these instances where you have been wronged or hurt, whether once really bad or repeatedly, and you are just holding back forgiveness. And it is affecting you. Whether you realize it or not, it's affecting you in your relationships, it's affecting you in your narrative of your life, and it's affecting the example that you're setting for others. If you have kids, it may be with them where they're watching and learning, oh, okay, so when you say forgiveness, it really is a judgment call. Or it's okay to treat some people like this, but not everybody. I get to decide if someone is worthy of forgiveness. And then they also see you hurting and they ask themselves, is it worth it? Or should I love this person if it's a family member, if you're walking around upset with them? And so I would challenge you, for your own sake, as well as for others in your life, to practice forgiveness, whether you ever tell the other person or not, because the freedom you get to experience by releasing it. You could write a note that just lays it all out there, what happened, how it made you feel, what you've been working through and dealing with, how it has affected other parts of your life, and then do a fire and burn it. Let it literally burn to ashes, all of that built up unforgiveness and bitterness and pain that you have been holding on to, so that you can move forward free. so that you can be the person you want to be and live a full life that has immense love and models how you want to be treated. The golden rule, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. When I make a mistake, when I say the wrong thing, when I don't show up and I said that I would for whatever reason, I feel bad. I literally replay pretty much everything in my head constantly, and it's something that I'm working on. But forgiveness is a real thing. Like, I've just have worked it into my everyday verbiage. Like, I'll do something and I'll just be like, oh my gosh, forgive me. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and ask for it right away. I'm not going to let you even think about it. Maybe you didn't even notice it, but it bothered me. And so I'm just going to say, forgive me, or please forgive me. I'm sorry, whatever it was. And hopefully they do. Or if they don't address it, I at least feel like I addressed it, and then we move on. So I would challenge you to take some time and think about the areas of your life, think about the people in your life, the relationships, and whether they are still in your life, whether they are not, what is affecting you? What are you holding on to? What do you realize when this person crosses my mind, or this situation, or I encounter these people, whatever it is? Why do I all of a sudden get really tense? Why do I go from feeling really happy or grateful to like just kind of, I can't even think of the word, like tense. Like, tense is the word that comes to mind because I just don't even want to be in your presence, or I'm stressed, right? Those are the situations where you really need to pause and reflect, like, what is causing this? What do I need to release? And on top of all that, whether you ever tell the person or not, then the next step is setting up healthy boundaries, because sometimes these people are still in your life. Sometimes you can't avoid them, and until they start to make better choices, you need to have healthy boundaries in place so that you can interact, you can still be in each other's presence, but it's healthy for you. It's not damaging to the work that you're doing, because even if they're not there, even if they're not on a healthy journey of trying to make better choices, become a better person, heal relationships, whatever the things, you still are moving forward. And so it's knowing maybe it's a certain amount of time that you can spend at different events if the people are there. Maybe it is only being in their presence with somebody so that you feel like you have support. And also knowing when to verbalize that you're uncomfortable and maybe excusing yourself, whatever it is. Only you know what that can look like for you in the situations. But above all, I really just want you to take the message away today that forgiveness and unforgiveness are choices that are yours, and they affect your life. So even if you never tell a single person of the choice you are making, it shows. So if we're walking around constantly bitter and angry and just making little, remarks that aren't necessary or kind, that shows that we've got some built up resentment and unforgiveness towards something that we need to work through. Or if we're able to show up in situations that are uncomfortable for others and maybe used to be uncomfortable for you, people notice that too. And there's what's different? Something's different about you. And you just think, I released it. I'm not carrying it around anymore. Like, I literally have people in my life that I look at and I just pray for them. Like, I hope you get healthy. I hope you start making better choices. I want you to have an amazing life. And I want relationships for you to be restored. And I don't want you to walk around feeling less than, or that this is it for you, or you're not getting to be who you feel you're meant to be. But that choice is yours. And so I'm over here not going to let that affect my world. I mean, sometimes it might if we're in each other's company, right? Because that's just part of the healthy boundaries. But I'm not going to let it keep me in a place of anger and tension and bitterness and resentment, none of those things, because I have a life to live and I have an example to set for people in my life of what forgiveness can do for you and what it looks like, and healthy boundaries and how to keep moving forward. So I hope this episode was helpful. I know it's not easy. I know I don't know what every single one of you has been through, but I know it all hasn't been easy. but I do pray for you, and I do want you to live a life that is not holding you back by the past, that is not holding you back with a sense of bitterness and anger and resentment towards people, of just not letting you be the person that you were meant to be with your light shining. Because there was a time where your light shined really brightly and you remember being full of life and just loving and being present. And that's what I want for you in every instance that you encounter and embrace and what you want to do. So I hope this episode gave you value. If you know somebody who's struggling, please send it to them. And I just want the very best for you. If this podcast helped, challenged, or inspired you in some way, I would love it if you'd do me a huge favor and leave me a review over on Apple Podcasts. It helps me to hear from you and know how this is best serving you. And go ahead and screenshot this and share it in your stories. Tag me at Shannon Marquita. That's ShannonMarqueta. And send it over to a friend in a text who is ready for healthy changes in her life too. Let her know that this episode might serve her as well. I am just so grateful for you and would love to hear from you. Come hang out and let's connect over in my Facebook group, bit.ly.com/afreshstart, or send me a message. I look forward to seeing you back here in a few days.